Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Let me just make sure that this is working. All right, all right. Yep, everything is situated. I am so excited to be talking about my time in Yosemite National Park and San Francisco. So, we're going to have such a great dialogue because San Francisco was so crazy just in terms of first off, it's the most controversial city in America and it's not even close. So, we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about all of the different places, whether we're referring to the Tenderloin, which all the controversy surrounding that, but also the touristy areas, Fisherman's Wharf. We're going to also talk about all different neighborhoods within, and it's just going to be so exciting. I'm excited to see what you guys will have to say in the chat. I'm hoping a lot of locals from San Francisco will actually be joining, so we'll be able to have kind of a dialogue. And then we're going to go to Yosemite National Park after. But first off, I, we need to start off with the controversy. So throughout my entire life, I am from New York. I am an East Coast boy, and I only hear negatives about San Francisco, especially from a lot of friends and family. They typically say, "Oh, you don't want to go there. San Francisco's a nightmare. People are, there are car break-ins, carjackings everywhere you go. The homeless population has gone through the entire roof." And I'm like, "Hmm, you know, I don't think that is necessarily the case because these were the same people that told me Chicago would be a nightmare if I went." So I knew I was very excited to go to San Francisco. And when I actually got there, I was shocked in the sense that it wasn't necessarily what people were telling me. It wasn't this scary destination that if I go to, my car is going to be broken into. Sure, there are some parts of the city that are like that, but that's there are so many different parts. The hills, for example, absolutely blown away by everywhere we go, everywhere we walked up, whether it was California Street, whether it was Lombard Street, whether it was going to the Coit Tower. Just the views are something absolutely mind blowing. Absolutely mind blowing. The way I could see Alcatraz from literally so many different places. It almost had honestly like a little bit of like a central South American feel, and the reason I say that is Central and South America have a lot of cities that are kind of built upon hills, and I thought that the architecture was very similar. Also, if you guys have anything to say, please drop it down in the chat below because I would love to be able to have the dialogue that way. I'm kind of just like talking off the top of my head right now, but the views absolutely stunning. I have never been to a city like that before, where I was able to go and just walk up the hills and get these spectacular viewpoints. One of my favorite things to do when I go to a city is find a viewpoint that is very high up, whether it's an observation tower, whether it's something natural like in San Francisco. I feel like there's just it's so cool being able to look above and see the entire city and just be like, wow, wow. And I guess now moving on from the hills, the next part that I was absolutely blown away by was the oldest Chinatown in all of America. Yeah, I was shocked because Flushing, New York, which is actually the largest Chinatown, like quote unquote Chinatown outside of China, is literally only 20 minutes from me. I can get there by train so easily, and I am in Flushing all of the time. But Chinatown, San Francisco, it just had a feeling that it was, like, a lot more, like, actual culture. I was there on New Year's Eve day, so December 31st, but the actual day during it, and there were so many festivities going on. There was this, like, dragon dance show. And then as I went through the different shops, whether it was like getting actual china or like, like the plates, like the blue and white porcelain plates, or going through all of the different markets, like the fruits and vegetable stands, the seafood stands, so lively, so much energy. And then my favorite shop of them all, oh my god, the Fortune Cookie Factory. Wait, do I have the bag with me now? It's like somewhere over there, so I'm not gonna actually get it. But the Fortune Cookie Factory, I didn't even know that the fortune cookie was invented in San Francisco. And there is an actual like store where they're just producing tens of thousands of fortune cookies every single day. It was in this little alley that I didn't even know existed. I literally Googled like fun things to do in Chinatown, San Francisco, and that's what came up. I was like, how in the world do I find this place? And I had to go through this little alley. We got these very like flat fortune cookies, and they were good. They tasted like regular fortune cookies, but just being able to go into the store and see the process of how the fortune cookies were actually made, that was so cool. And then we went to dinner here, and honestly, I'm not even kidding, one of the best meals I've had in my entire life. Not just talking about Chinese food, but meals overall. I ended up getting this wonton soup, and inside the wontons, it was actually so cool because there was beef, pork, and shrimp all within the wonton. Like one wonton, and it had like a little bit of each meat in it. So you bit into it, and you got this nice, unique flavor combination. And wow, I also got some dumplings as well, some soup dumplings. We got scallion pancakes. We got um, kung pao chicken, and many different dishes, and we were all sharing it, and it was so fun. And I guess moving on from now Chinatown, San Francisco, is what should we talk about next? Oh, let's talk about the other place I made a video on, and then we'll get to everything else after that. Fisherman's Wharf. Fisherman's Wharf, is it the tourist trap of the city? That's what I titled it. And I think it's now time for a discussion about that because it's a fun place. Don't get me wrong. It's really cool. I believe it's Pier 39 that has the sea lions. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the entirety of it is different shops. We know the vibrancy there. Sea lions are so cool. You have all the different fish stands. And when I was there, I'll tell you, it didn't feel like there was a single local there. Every single person was a tourist. And you could tell when you were there, I don't want to say commercialized because it wasn't commercialized in terms of having big companies there. I guess the only big company there, In and Out, but Ripley's, believe it or not, museum is there as well. Madame Tussauds, I think, was also there. I could be wrong, but it felt like they were just trying to get you to spend that extra dollar. That they had no true intention um, behind selling merchandise besides the fact that they wanted you to spend the money, which makes sense because I, as I said, am a New Yorker, and being in Times Square, that is the biggest tourist trap. And locals in New York, we do not go to Times Square. So I picture it the same in Fisherman's Wharf. Guys, if you're in the live stream now, if you're able to, drop stuff in the comments below so we can get this discussion kind of flowing more. Drop a location and I could talk about my experience there. And I would also love to know kind of your thoughts, especially on like the cost of living issue in the city. We'll get to that a little bit more later though. So yeah, the Fisherman's Wharf though, fun, very touristy, and I'm gonna go as far as saying it's a tourist trap. Then moving on to, let's talk about Union Square, or is that what it's called? The place that has all of the shops. That it's the shopping center, um, Union Square. Let's see if that's what it's called. I'm doing a quick Google search. This is bad. I should remember it. It's right near the Tenderloin. It's where you got all of the designer stores. I should have wrote this down before. This is bad. Union Square. It is called Union Square. Okay. So Union Square, I found it so interesting. Now, every single store had armed security guards. Literally every single one. And they were standing outside and had a firearm, and it wasn't concealed carry. Like their firearm was just, let's say I'm standing up and it's like along the side of me right now. No, it was out. It was out. So you knew that if you were to rob the store, yeah, they would be right there. Um, that is something because in New York, we have security guards for a lot of big stores. Um, and sorry, I'm just reading Jessica's comments too. Hey, Landon, I'm so excited to see what you have in store of us. I've been a consistent fan for a few months now. Jessica, thank you. Thank you very much. Will there be any more California videos? So, unfortunately, we are done with California videos. No more. I had so much incredible footage in Yosemite National Park. Literally the most breathtaking views. We went halfway up to Half Dome. We went up the Mist Trail, everything about it, and I lost all that footage. I literally lost all that footage, and I am so angry at myself for that. You would have gotten great California videos. But no, no more California videos. We are off to Ireland now. You will be getting so many videos from Ireland, from Belfast, Northern Ireland, from Luxembourg as well. Within Ireland, you'll be getting it from Dublin, from Howth, and from Galway. And then you'll also be getting it from Ryanair and Aer Lingus. And then reading to the other comment, especially my super cool brother. He won't be in any of those videos, unfortunately. But that's my whole Ireland trip. So those videos will be coming out soon. But let's get back to San Francisco. Union Square, I'm just like in a shock of how security guards had firearms that were open, like literally not even concealed carry. Because in New York, we don't have any of that. We have security guards that will stand there, but they're not loaded. Actually, they probably are now that I think about it, but it's not out in the open public. San Francisco also had so many signs that was like, beware of carjackings, beware of car break ins, lock your doors, lock your car keys. And that is an issue that has risen so much in the city. And Jessica, thank you. I am so happy to hear that you are excited about it. Let's go. So thankful that you're here to join the stream. And the everything with the car break-ins, that is an issue that I actually feel so much for the city because that's why it's getting such a bad rap. Because all of the news media is literally taking advantage of this. And because, especially like you go to the Golden Gate Bridge was the first thing that I did when I got here. And there were just signs and signs of lock your car door, keep your keys with you. And that's why I feel like it's become such a big conservative talking point that it's like, oh, we can't have democratic leadership because look what our city's going to turn into San Francisco. Our city's going to turn into Chicago. It's this fear mongering that is brought forth. And it's actually like so unfortunate to see. Like, we really don't like it's not the truth at all. Sure, crime is an issue, and we need to figure out how in the world we're going to fix this. But fear mongering potential travelers here, especially when if you go and you stay in the touristy parts, nothing's going to happen to you. It's just crazy to think about. These are the same people, the people that are telling you to avoid San Francisco, that you need to avoid Chicago and you need to avoid Memphis. Well, let me tell you something. I was in Chicago and Memphis in October. Chicago, my favorite American city that's not New York. I love that place. There wasn't literally a single moment where I didn't feel safe. And I went all throughout the entire city besides the south side. Memphis, I also loved as well. Wait, literally right there, is a sign of me in Memphis. And oh, we got a new comment from Gabrielle Sylvia. Hello. I'm so glad that you're able to join this. Tell Mason I say hello. Hey Landon, your videos are the best. I suggest you go visit New Orleans next. Tell Sydney to join this live stream. Yeah, I would love to visit New Orleans. I think that would be so fun. Mardi Gras just happened, and some of my friends actually went to New Orleans for Mardi Gras, and that's an experience that I'm going to definitely have to do one day. It's so fun. It's so lively. New Orleans is also so cool because it's a lot like Memphis in the sense where it's like this like blues culture ish. Obviously, New Orleans has a little more like the French twist on it, the French Quarter and all that. But because I love Memphis, I've been told New Orleans I'm going to absolutely fall in love with. Unfortunately, Mason said he fell asleep and won't be able to come and support his dear brother on this live. That's okay. That's okay because Mason will be joining a lot more of these. There are so many videos to come from, so many more live streams. I'll be telling everyone now, we're going to go through different series of my travels. So right now was my California one. After California, we're going to have Ireland, and then I'm going to go live for Ireland to talk about my entire Ireland trip. Then we'll go live again after we throw in my trip to the UK and Luxembourg as well. And then we're just going to keep doing this for every single one of my travels. And it's going to be so fun, especially as we grow. We're going to have more people go on. So, Mason and Gabrielle, get your friends to subscribe. Get your friends to subscribe and get your friends to watch videos because this is going to be so fun, especially when also major announcement for everyone. I'm studying abroad in Serbia in the fall. Yeah, I will be living in Serbia. So you're going to have so many different videos coming from the Balkan region, then Serbia, Albania, Montenegro, Kosovo, North Macedonia, and it's going to be so fun. So I'm looking forward to it. But wait, I've just gone on a complete different tangent, which I love these tangents. Please comment more and more so I can keep going on these different tangents. It's so fun. But relating now back to San Francisco, because that's the point of this live stream. What about San Francisco should I talk about? Where was I going? I was talking about crime and the fear mongering and the carjackings. Where can I go next with that? Because I still want to talk about the Tenderloin. So the Tenderloin and the whole City Hall area has that that has gotten bad. I will tell any travelers who's going there. Take a if you want to really get the feel for the city, take a quick walk through the Tenderloin. Nothing more than going through a couple of blocks because when I first arrived in San Francisco, the very first thing I did was I went to City Hall. And let me tell you, I think I passed more homeless people on that walk than non-homeless people. I stayed at the Clift Royal Sonesta, and that is in the Tenderloin. It's right on the border with Union Square. But I walked through the Tenderloin going to City Hall. It was pouring rain, and it was so bad. It was actually horrible. I felt so bad for how many people were on the streets. There was this group called, I believe it was Green Alchemy. I could be wrong, but they're like a organization there that's trying to like rid people from ultra poverty, and they're trying to do a lot of their work in the Tenderloin because that's where a lot of homeless people was. And then what really got to me was the human feces on the ground. That's something that I've actually never seen before. It was like startling to see. What's really interesting as well is that you go in the Tenderloin and then you go into Union Square and it's two completely different places. Two completely different places. It's like the San Francisco police force is trying to keep the people in the Tenderloin, keep the homeless people in the Tenderloin. They don't deploy any resource there. resources there. They're not trying to help out the people whatsoever. Literally none whatsoever. And it's very unfortunate to see. And it's like they're like, okay, we have these homeless people there, and we're just gonna try to contain them, not let them go expand it further into the city because we don't want our touristy and high-end parts like Union Square to be infiltrated. Tenderloin, no police presence, which you figure that's where all the crime is happening. And I'm sure it's not just the Tenderloin. I just am familiar with the Tenderloin because that's where I stayed when I was there. Um, but Union Square, there's so much police, which is crazy. It's crazy because like you would think that in a city that has a crime issue that the policing would be where the crimes are actually taking place and where that's a big issue. But it's so different. Like there literally needs to be a case study on San Francisco. Like why is there such heavy police presence where all of the touristy areas are where frankly like there's not much crime going on, but there's nothing where everything is happening. And like I know the reasoning behind it because the local politicians, local police force want to make the tourists feel safe to make sure that people continue coming to the city, which sure, that's like me. I went to the areas and I felt safe because there was so much policing there. But you're not doing anything to help the homeless population there. You're not doing anything to actually lower the cost of living in the city. So you're containing the issue, but you're not fixing the issue. This place literally needs to have a case study done on it. If anyone in this live stream is from San Francisco and can add in some information about the cost of living crisis, please let me know. It's something I'm so fascinated with. I see a comment by Alexis Thomas. Hi, Landon. Your videos light up my day. I am so glad to hear that. I just wanted to thank you for the time and effort you put into your travel videos. I will be taking your advice into account for my next trip. I'm so glad, Alexis, that you are enjoying this. But seriously, everyone, if you're from San Francisco, comment it down below the cost of how the cost of living conflict has impacted you and how you've seen it change San Francisco. But, let's move on. We've been talking about crime and all of that and for a while and why it's the most controversial city in America. But let's go back to talking about the fun parts. The parts that were in my vlogs that people like Alexis and Jessica and Gabrielle and everyone who's been in here commenting have really appreciated. Oh, we see another comment. How would you say the flight was? Your video definitely shaping your future travels. I saw your cool brother sleeping on the plane, but I thought he doesn't sleep because he's Batman. Yeah. Okay. We want to talk about my flight going there now? Sure. We can absolutely talk about my flight going there now. So, yeah, me and my brother flew Delta One business class on the way to San Francisco, which that experience was so cool. It was so exciting to be able to do that. My parents sat in the very back, like in the regular economy seats. So, the reason was because my mom very high status on Delta. So because there were so many empty business class seats that she got a free upgrade, and because my brother was an unaccompanied or was an accompanied minor connected to her ticket, they gave him the upgrade as well. And my mom was like, "Here's your kind of a Christmas gift. You get to stay in business class." And being able to do that was very nice. It was a very very fun experience. Just I found the coolest thing being able to go over the American countryside. We had no clouds in the air, which made it so cool because I was able to see like the Wyoming plains, the Rocky Mountains. I even saw Niagara Falls from the plane. So first off, the views were incredible, but being able to have a full layout bed, oh my god, that was so nice. Just being able to lie down, have my legs fully stretched out. The leg room was solid. It wasn't anything crazy for business class, being able to have a nice meal. I had this monkey bread with like this banana bread as well, or something like that. And it was like this bread, sugary bread, cinnamon, caramel, and oh my God, it tasted so good. My brother, who Jessica is referring to, fell asleep for probably like 3 hours of the 6 hours flight. I was up the entire time, just really enjoying the experience. This was my fourth time flying business class, right? Let's see, SAS. So I flew to Oslo to Frankfurt, from London to New York, and then to San Francisco. Yeah, so my fourth time flying business class. And it was, because it was on a transcontinental flight, not a transatlantic one. There were a lot less amenities, but still great. If you are interested in plane travel, I have actually two videos coming out on planes. Scheduled release actually tomorrow on Aer Lingus, the Irish national carrier, seeing what their flight was like going from San Francisco, going all the way to Dublin, the longest flight of my entire life. That was what, 10 and a half hours? I think it was 10 hours, something. Yeah, 10 and a half hours. And then we also got the biggest budget airline in the entire world, the cheapest airline in the entire world, and an airline that you either have such a love for or such a hatred for, and that was Ryanair. My experience with Ryanair was chaotic, so that video will be out soon enough with that. We got another comment from Grace. I Seeing all these comments and having my brother included with them, I have a feeling that these are just my brother's friends, or Gabrielle just told all of you to join this, which I'm so glad you all are joining this. Gabrielle might be doing this, or Mason might be doing this to like try to make fun of me having you all join this, but I think it's great. I think it's so fun. Hey Landon, I'm a huge fan of your vlogs. Grace, I'm so glad to hear that. I was wondering if you have any impressive plans for the future. P.S. Please include your brother in more videos. He's such a treasure. Yes, I agree. Mason is absolutely awesome. The next time Mason will be in some of these vlogs, he can actually make a greater appearance if you want him to. Like, let me know. Comment down on my videos if you want Mason to be involved in more vlogs. I can certainly make that happen. I can make him be interviewed, whether he likes it or not. I'll take the camera, go right up to him, and say, Mason, what do you think about this destination that we're in right now? Force him to answer questions, get him on camera more. It'll be so fun. You all will love it. When will I be traveling with Mason next? I guess it will be in the summertime. Summertime with Mason and I will be in Sweden and Denmark. In Sweden, we are going to the cities of Stockholm, Gothenburg, and Malmo. And when we're in Denmark, we'll be in Copenhagen. I'll try to get to Odense. And then also within Europe, this will be without Mason. I'll be going to Reykjavik, Iceland. I will be going to Amsterdam, Netherlands, Lisbon, Portugal, and I will be going to Ponta Delgada, Azores. And relating to your question of any other exciting future travels, very soon I won't specifically say when I'll be there, but I'll tell you within the next 4 months, I will be in Central America, which I'm looking forward to that. And then yeah, the big thing is this fall when I am studying abroad in Serbia. So yeah, I will be living in Serbia for over 4 months and going to go to Kosovo, go to Albania, go to Montenegro. I'll be also spending at least a week in Budapest, at least a week in Vienna. So literally so many different travels coming up. So honestly, what I'm looking forward to the most is going to be my time in Serbia in the fall. Let's see. I think you and Mason should make a podcast like Jason and Travis Kelsey. I heard you are going to rebuild houses in South America. Very cool. You should talk about that. Okay, I'll get to that right after this. I would love to make a podcast with Mason. The thing is, Mason definitely won't want to join this with me. If he wants to, that would be great. I would love for him to join a live stream, and we could just talk about different trips that we've had, our times in Norway, our times in Germany, our times in different parts in America. And I would love to have that dialogue with him. So sure, if we want to make it like a Jason and Travis Kelsey podcast, that would be great. And we'll get Taylor Swift on this as well. She will join our podcast. Yeah, I am going to get Taylor as well. Me, Mason, Taylor. It will be so fun. I heard you're going to rebuild houses in South America. That is very cool. You should talk about that. I won't say exactly when, but sometime within the next like period of time, I will be in Central America, and I will be pretty much doing construction. I'll be building homes. I will be building schools, potentially building hospitals when I'm there. It's a humanitarian mission that I am really looking forward to be able to really help those in Central America. Because we look at the migrant crisis in the United States right now. That has been such a hot topic of migrants coming into the country. Well, why does it have to be like this? Right? People talk about immigration policy and they're like, okay, we have to keep these people out. But that isn't solving the issue. People are so desperate in some of these places. They're going to be coming no matter what. So, why don't we actually go to those countries and actually fix the issues on the ground there so they don't feel the need that they have to leave the country? For example, in Colombia or in Guatemala or in Honduras, where a lot of immigrants have been coming from, especially recently, like we should not have to like really stop them from coming. If we can solve the issues in their home countries first, they won't feel the need to have to come to the US. So yeah, so doing construction work there. Jessica says, I am so interested. I can't wait. Counting down the hours. Jessica, if you're counting down the hours for my Central American videos, then you're going to be counting a long time. Ideally, I'm hoping to have some of those videos out. Realistically, because I have to have my Pittsburgh videos come out before that, and my Amtrak and overnight Greyhound experience. Oh, that was actually horrible. Realistically, like middle of April. So if you're counting down hours for 2 months, you're gonna be in a long, long wait. I have no idea who this brother is, but as a local from Kansas, would you ever consider traveling down there? Our history is great. So, Kansas, I would love to go to one day. And I'm not even kidding about that. I want to visit all 50 states, but Kansas is actually very, very interesting because of its farming culture, but also relating to its history as well. Because as many of you may be familiar with, we want to talk about the Kansas Nebraska Act in the pre Civil War. So, what this was so this was a law in 1854, and pretty much the Kansas Nebraska Act repealed the Missouri Compromise. If we're going back to our U.S. history classes, Missouri Compromise was that Missouri entered the Union as a slave state. I believe it was Maine that entered as a free state. But the Kansas Nebraska Act, it was ultimately, I'm going to skip a lot of the history, but it led to a violent uprising known as Bleeding Kansas, where pro slavery and anti slavery activists came into the state because the state was having a vote on whether they should be a free state or a slave state or not. So, history there is really, really cool. So, yeah, Kansas would actually be pretty fun. Belen Vasquez. Hi, Landon. I'm a new viewer. I love your videos. I'm going to Italy soon. I'm so excited. Any tips? Well, first off, thank you for joining this. I am so glad you are a new viewer. I am so, so glad that you are loving the content so far. And Italy. So I've never actually been to Italy, which I am yeah, I that's a place I need to get to. Hopefully, I'll get there in the fall, when I'm studying abroad in Serbia. Ideally, I'll be able to make it to Rome. I won't be able to travel much, but Italy itself is such a fascinating place. It is so, so cool because the history of the Roman Empire or just everything that goes on now and the difference between Sicily and places like Venice, it is awesome. Italian culture is something that no matter where you go in Italy, it's like something a little bit different. Like every place in Italy has its own flavor to it. Gabrielle saying, "What is my Roman Empire?" I'll get to that right after I'm done talking um, about this for Italy. But I would really recommend, if you can, it may be difficult, but try to get to okay, I have 2 different suggestions. One, do you really want to integrate yourself into one part of Italy? For example, do you really want to go into southern Italy, go to Sicily, be in Palermo, maybe go to Bari, and that could be very fun, and you really get a Sicilian feel, a southern Italian feel for the culture and really immerse yourself there? Or do you want to do a little bit of everything? So you could start off in, let's say, Florence or Milan, and then you can make your way down to Rome, and then you can make your way down to Sicily. Train travel in Italy so easy that you can really hit the northern part of the country, Rome, and then the southern part of Italy, all within a week, and you can really get a feel of all of the different types of Italian cultures. So that would be really cool. What is my Roman Empire? So for the viewers who don't know, it is pretty much a joke that all men think about is the Roman Empire. And yeah, that is all I think about. The Roman Empire, which wow, I'm going on a complete tangent from San Francisco, but the Roman Empire is all that I think about every single moment. No, I'm just kidding. But my Roman Empire really revolves around 2 things. It revolves around sports and travel. So in my free time, the stuff that I am thinking about the majority of the time is travel, where I'm going to go, logistical planning. I love looking at different cultures. I love different documentaries. I love learning about any parts of the world. I'm very fascinated in different foreign conflicts, but not the mainstream foreign conflict. For example, the conflict going on right now between Venezuela and Guyana, or I'm really become really interested in US-China relations and how China has really become a big player in places like Latin America, like Africa, and in the Balkan region. So looking at Chinese influence, but then also sports. I love sports. I am a diehard Mets fan, and I am a diehard college football fan. I live, breathe, and die by the Mets, by Georgia football, and by Atlanta United soccer. Then I'm also a fan of basketball, hockey, too. Pretty much any sport there is, tennis. But those are not as high on my list as those 3: MLB, MLS, college football. Do you know about the guy, Paul the guy, who is walking across the whole earth, and do you take any inspiration from him? No, I actually don't know who you're referring to, but that that would be some trek. So I'm guessing this Paul guy is like the Marco Polo of the 21st century, gonna get everywhere by foot, and I think that's so cool. Um, Obviously, I'm sure he's taking the necessary safety precautions, because some places of the world going by foot isn't going to be the safest thing. But I'm sure if he's doing it, he knows exactly what to do. He has all of his emergency contacts. If he's an American enrolling in the STEP program, so the U.S. Embassy has kind of the embassy knows where exactly he'll be at all times, just in case there's a natural disaster or some sort of conflict that brews. The embassies in the respective country that he's in, they'll have accountability for him. That's something everyone needs to do. If you're going abroad, enroll into the US State Department STEP program. Wow, I'm really going off on a tangent from San Francisco, but I love the interaction in the comment section. Jessica says, "Wow, I've never heard of that before. The information must have never came down to Kansas." You'll have to ask your friend Arjun about that. So, Jessica, you're from Kansas, and I'm very surprised that they didn't teach you this part about Kansas history. I'm glad you got to learn about it. Look up the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Look up Bleeding Kansas. History behind that is very, very fascinating. Kansas, it's a cool state. Also, the college basketball there is absolutely awesome. Jayhawks just won the national championship and college football. But I'm not going to talk about this now. This is about travel, not about my love for college sports. Belen Vasquez, thanks for the tips. Are you a Michael Jordan fan? Wow, we're really going off on the sports route now. I would say I am a Michael. Are we talking about the basketball player Michael Jordan? I assume we are, because isn't there an actor named Michael Jordan too, or some other celebrity as well? No, there's a football player named Michael Jordan as well, not like a top tier football player. But going back, referring to the basketball player, yes, Michael Jordan is absolutely awesome. He is the controversial take, the second greatest NBA player of all time. I will put LeBron just above him on this list. So if you guys have more questions or comments or anything you want me to talk about, keep putting them in the comments below, or else I'm going to go back to San Francisco and keep talking about that. But I love what you're saying in the comments. So keep on doing it. So going back to San Francisco then. Some non-touristy parts of the city that I loved is I loved going to Oracle Park and going to McCovey Cove. Oracle Park is home of the San Francisco Giants and is really one of the nicest stadiums in Major League Baseball. I think within Oracle Park you can walk outside and there are actually palm trees, which I didn't think there were palm trees in Northern California, but that was cool. And I think that it was so cool. It's so nice. McCovey Cove, which is like a little marina right behind the outfield wall of Oracle Park. That is absolutely awesome. So many nice boats. You get great views. You can see across the bay into Oakland. And oh, we got more comments in the comment section. Hey, Landon, I was wondering if you play any sports yourself. Well, Alexis, so growing up, I was always a huge, huge baseball player. Baseball was my predominant sport. I have dedicated so much of my time to it. Um, Literally would spend dozens of hours a week, whether it's playing, practicing, training for that. Did a lot of recruiting tournaments. And now relating to baseball, I am an umpire now and I umpire college recruiting tournaments, which is absolutely awesome. Kind of stressful knowing that I'm the plate umpire, I'm calling balls and strikes, and there are college coaches behind me. And if I make a wrong call and call strike three on a kid, that the college coach may cross his name off on the list. But I umpire now. I've umpired probably close to 80 games by this point now. After this year, maybe more than 80, something like that, something in that range. But it's awesome. I love umpiring. I get heckled. That's all referees do. You get heckled by the fans, but it's part of it, and you just gotta take it. Gabrielle, what are your thoughts on the 49ers losing the Super Bowl? Okay, so there are two thoughts that I have on the Super Bowl. So, first off, the Taylor Swift Travis Kelce hype, I will be honest, I love that. I think it is absolutely amazing. I love how the NFL has integrated Taylor Swift into this. I think it's terrific from viewership standpoint, especially as we saw it after the post Colin Kaepernick movement, the NFL viewership started to like decrease a little bit. So I think that's terrific that it raised it again. Also, Travis Kelce, the best tight end of my lifetime. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's one of the greatest players to ever play the game at the tight end position. I wanted the 49ers to win that game. Why? Because Patrick Mahomes. I am such a big Tom Brady fan. Tom Brady is one of my favorite football players, one of my favorite athletes ever. And I just can't stand the Mahomes Brady comparison. If Mahomes was not on the Chiefs, I would be rooting for the Chiefs so hard because of Travis and Taylor Swift. But because of Mahomes, the fact that he has his third ring at age 28 and people are starting to bring up the Brady comparisons, I just can't stand. Don't talk to me until Mahomes gets to 7 rings. Uh, Belen Vasquez, hey, do you have a significant other to share your travels with in the future? Currently, I've been doing a lot of trips solo, and I will be doing a lot of trips solo. I'll be doing a lot of trips with friends. I'll be doing a lot of trips with family. I think I'm definitely too young for that to have somebody with me, a significant other that I would be traveling with her throughout. So right now, myself, friends, and family, and I have been absolutely loving it. Thinking of a trip towards the end of the year, would you consider the Golden Gate Bridge worth it? What was the best part? Yes, back to San Francisco now. The point of this live stream. So when we landed in San Francisco, the very first thing we did is we drove to the Golden Gate Bridge. And first off, parking is a nightmare. Be prepared to take 25 minutes, 30 minutes, literally potentially up to an hour sitting in traffic before you get to the Golden Gate Bridge. That was a nightmare. But the view, oh my god, it's incredible. And now I understand why it's the most famous bridge in the world, not just because of how like red it is and overlooking the bay, but the beauty that it strikes you, being able to look at the bay, being able to look at the hills in the distance, being able to see the San Francisco skyline. The fact that there are surfers at the rocks, like it was literally Christmas Day when I was there, and people were surfing. Like I get that it was warm out, it was like in the high 50s, but like I couldn't believe it. It's cold. They're wearing these. I assume it was either wetsuits or warm suits. Which warm suits are like the opposite of wetsuits. They don't let. I think that I don't actually know the difference between them. But that was so cool that people were surfing along the rocks, and there were like big waves as well. And I thought that was so cool. And there are so many different trails along the Golden Gate Bridge as well that you can go on and take a trip down one of the trails that brings you down to like the pier where they have all this crabbing going on, which that was really interesting to see. I would never actually go crabbing myself, but the fact that people were going and putting the crab traps into the water and pulling out these massive crabs. Like I don't know if they were king crabs or I'm not a crabbing expert or like a marina expert, so I don't know the exact type of crab it was, but the crabs were like this big. They were this big. They were massive. And I presume people after they had the crab would go and they would put it in a bucket, or they did put it in buckets, brought it home. I'm sure they cooked it up for dinner. I'm sure they enjoyed that dinner very nicely. So that was really fascinating to see. What was the best part of your trip? If we're talking specifically about San Francisco, oh, I'll have to say the hills because, as I've already mentioned multiple times, the views absolutely stunning, like ridiculously stunning, something that you don't get in the city, which I found that so cool. Ugh, the traffic. I know. The traffic by the Golden Gate Bridge was a nightmare. I was also there around like 4 p.m. But it wasn't rush hour because it was Christmas Day, so nobody's working. Christmas is a federal holiday too, even though it's a religious holiday, so people shouldn't have been working. So I don't know why there was so much traffic, but it was. I can't imagine what it's like on like a Saturday. That must be brutal. I know that when I go, my RGen will park for me. Uh, but was it still that unbearable as a passenger princess? um, no, no, it's not gonna be unbearable. Perhaps what Arjun can do is, I mean, if Arjun was willing to do this, drop you off and you can just explore the areas like the walking trails, um, while he parks. But no, it's like it's annoying, but traffic, it is what it is. You just got to accept it, especially when you go to a major city. One thing though is actually like in the city center itself, I didn't think that traffic was a big issue. I didn't really see traffic at all. It was just by the Golden Gate Bridge. So that's something that you don't really have to worry about there. Grace, OMG, that's adorbs. I really love crabs. Do you have any restaurant recommendations in California? Also, wait, first off, is the chat delayed? Like, I are like is our chat like some streamers have chats delayed where someone you'll type something and the streamer can't actually see it for like 30 seconds later. I don't know if that's enabled because these chats feel like they're coming in a little bit late. But that's okay. Um, Wait, what was I talking about? Oh, the crabs. The crabs. Yeah, that was like crazy seeing them. I feel bad for the crabs though that they got eaten up for dinner after being trapped. Restaurant recommendations in California. Oh, okay. So if we're gonna talk about San Francisco specifically, you go to Fisherman's Wharf and you get a clam chowder bread bowl. That is something that, as a tourist, you have to do. Yes, I've already said Fisherman's Wharf is the biggest tourist trap in the city. But if you go and get a boudin sourdough bread bowl, it's something. It's so cool to be able to have a literal bowl, but the bowl's bread. So you eat your clam chowder. I'm not a clam chowder fan. Um, but you can get like tomato soup as well. You can get chicken noodle, like whatever soup you want. And being able to eat that bread bowl afterwards, the fact that you can eat your bowl and it's great as well, sourdough. Yeah, go check that out. Any sourdough bread bowl in Fisherman's Wharf area. Also recommend you gotta check out any Chinese restaurant in Chinatown because it is the oldest Chinatown in America. So literally any restaurant will do. There is one phenomenal one that I went to. Oh, I don't remember the name, but I would be able to get that for you if anyone would like. But any restaurant there will do. What else? Where else did I eat there? I don't recall. There was a really great deli next to the Clift Royal Sonesta. The deli was actually part of the Sonesta. Get the Union Square breakfast sandwich, sausage, egg, cheese, hash browns on this nice brioche roll. Whew, that was so good. In and Out. I didn't get a chance to eat In and Out, which like I'm kind of annoyed at myself at because I've never had In and Out before. And if you're going to Yosemite National Park, there aren't restaurants there except for there's the Mountain Room at Yosemite Valley Lodge. That was very, very overpriced, but it was good food. The Awani dining room absolutely blew my mind. Not only because the Queen ate there, the Queen stayed at the Awani, but absolutely phenomenal. The meal incredible and such elegant dining room. You're gonna spend a lot of money at the Awani and the Hawaiian dining room, but if you want to save up for one spectacular meal in the park, go ahead and do that. So I guess those would be my recommendations for restaurants. Again, I can really only speak on behalf of the ones that I've been to. Alexis, watching you talk about politics has made me wish for a president like you. Thank you, thank you. I wish that uh, we had a president that was able to be as coherent as I am, being able to talk about that. That's a knock on our last on this president and the last president as well. So knocking presidents from both parties there. So it has nothing against either of them or anything. This country is being run by very old men. Whoever wins the 2024 election will be the oldest president of all time. So we need some younger blood. Um, if I was running in the future, I would have your vote. Well, thank you for that. Who knows if that'll happen one day? Realistically, in the future, I don't see myself as running for a political position, but I really want to work with foreign affairs in the future, foreign policy, maybe be like a diplomatic route. Honestly, I think the Wi-Fi might be delayed for me because my Argent forgot to get premium Wi-Fi. That's unfortunate. Living in Kansas isn't for the weak. So, do you think that your Wi-Fi is bad because you live in Kansas? Um, I really wonder if that's the case because that's really been a very interesting discussion that the United States has been having recently that you go to big cities, especially big tech cities like San Francisco. San Francisco is one of the technology hubs of the world. That such high speed internet. LA such high speed internet because you have the different film and celebrity industries, and you compare that to New York, which also such high speed internet because you need that for the financial world because New York is really one of the finance capitals of the world. And it's really unfortunate that rural America has such Wi-Fi issues. It really is. I feel for rural America, but I'm very optimistic that legislation has and will continue to be rolled out that will provide more resources, expanding 5G into rural America like Kansas, and we can really get high speed internet everywhere. That's also an issue on the national stage that I can talk about for a long, long time about expanding 5G, expanding cell service, and really just expanding internet in rural parts of the world, whether we're talking about India, whether we're talking about Rwanda, whether we're talking about Argentina, that we can get to these rural parts of these countries. Wow, I really think that these comments are coming in so delayed. I'm gonna need to look into that because all the stuff that's being commented, I started talking about like 3 minutes ago. Um, but that's okay. Okay, going back to this, would you ever consider living in San Francisco? That's a great question. That legitimately is a phenomenal question. Um, I no, no, I'm sorry, I won't live in San Francisco ever, and the reason for that is, first off, I'm not I don't know, the West Coast is a whole different lifestyle, a lot more laid back, it's a lot more spread out, and I just don't think I could do that. Like, I love the fact being in New York that first off, I think it's the greatest city in the world, and I will fight anyone on that to the death. But I love the fact that we have another major city in Philadelphia, literally an hour and a half from us. We have Boston, which is 3.5 hours. We have Baltimore, 3.5 hours. DC, 4 hours. You can even go as far as saying Wilmington, Delaware. I know you can't really consider that a big city, but that's four major cities that I said that are all within 4 hours of me. Boston, Philly, Baltimore, and DC. If we want to stretch it out even a little bit further, then we can start talking about like Pittsburgh. So I don't know. I just don't think I could do that in San Francisco. 4 hours, and besides out of the Bay Area, what cities can you really get to in 4 hours? I don't know. It's just something about that I couldn't do. A little too rural for me. And also within San Francisco, oh, the cost of living has been going through the roof. Like it's absolutely crazy. Um, being able as a young person to be able to move to San Francisco right now, oh, that's gonna be tough. It's gonna cost a lot. I don't know if I'll have the money to be able to live in San Francisco. Um, Belin Vasquez, haha, you are some younger blood. Thank you, thank you. I am so glad to have your vote. Did you participate in possibly any model UN teams in high school? Your interest seems to align with the club. You know, I should have. That's something I should have been a part of. It's just not some. It's something I never really had time for in high school. I was a part of at my high school. We had something called the 1680 Club, which was the history club. It was run by at the time when I was a member of the club, Mr. Berman. His name was. Shout out to you, Mr. Berman. One of my favorite teachers, if not my favorite teacher ever. But 1680 Club, which 1680, that was the year my town was formed. It was a history club, so I really loved that. In college, I'm an active participant in debate. We go to debate tournaments in different cities. I was actually just in Pittsburgh a few weeks ago for that. That's why I was in Pittsburgh. But Model UN, something, yeah, I really wish that I was really a part of more. Jessica, so I remember in one of your previous videos, you said you stayed at the Yosemite Hotel. Yes, I did. So I stayed at the Awani Hotel, which that was such an absolutely incredible experience. The Awani is so elegant and it just gives such incredible vibes because the hotel itself is gives you such a feel that you're in like the sixth, like literally like the 1860s almost, like during westward expansion. Gives you a feel. It pays such big omen to the Awanichi people. That was a Native American tribe that lived in Yosemite Valley, and it's so stunning. The fact that I was able to get a view of Half Dome looking out at it from my room, wake up and I see Half Dome from my bed. Oh my god, that was unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. So Hawaii costs money. It's, on the more expensive side, but if you can save up for it, definitely do it for 2 or 3 nights. It'll be well worth it. Jessica says, how would you say the room is? Are the beds comfortable? The room, absolutely stunning. I was so blessed that I got a view directly of Half Dome. Beds were, yeah, like a regular hotel bed. It was comfortable. I know I definitely need my beauty rest with Arjun on a comfortable bed after our long flight. And also remember, you're going to be having a long drive to Yosemite as well. If you're flying into San Francisco, it's going to be about 4 hour drive there. So yeah, you're going to need your rest. If you're flying into Fresno, which first off, don't fly into Fresno if you're from the East Coast. Like that, it's gonna be a pain to get to. And if you have a chance to be in San Francisco, like take the opportunity. Don't go to Fresno, which I get. Fresno is like the closest airport to Yosemite. That's still gonna be a 2 hour drive, which is still a pain. So you're still gonna have to get rent a car or take. I guess I think they have buses there. They have buses from Merced, which is where an Amtrak is, but I don't know about Fresno. Um, Berlin, shucks, what a great pity. I think that's referring to me saying how I won't run for political office one day. You know, we'll see. We'll see in the future. As of right now, it's not on the plans. I've worked so much for different campaigns recently, worked a lot on domestic policy, especially relating to immigration. So we'll see moving forward. Uh, Tuz Dynasty says, um, did try the super long trail. The one goes to the top of the waterfall, I think. Yes, the Mist Trail. That was so cool. The Mist Trail was actually epic. It was such a hard hike for someone that would not be in physically like that isn't physically fit. Both me and my brother, we had a very easy time doing it. We went up over 2,000 feet. It took us about 4 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours to go there and back to the top and back, something like that. But views you're getting absolutely stunning to be able to go up to Nevada Falls. And like I said, some parts of it gets tough. Me, who's always lived at sea level my entire life, the altitude started to hit me as I started to go up a little bit. Um, so just be prepared for that. If you're not physically fit to go up to Nevada Falls, which most people aren't physically fit to be able to do that, which that's okay. That is perfectly okay. Make it up to Vernal Falls and it'll still be great. But if you are a young person, you can make it up to Nevada Falls. No fear at all. I'm talking about if you're like past like 40s and after that, or like younger but like not in like you don't have endurance. That's where it could be a little tough. But the waterfall was cool. It wasn't anything special. I just found that it was like a river that was like falling off a mountain. It's nothing like my experience when I went to Niagara Falls. Grace, I feel for you, Jessica. I think it referring to about the beauty rest. Whenever my wife and I travel, we are definitely concerned about the beds. Yeah, one of the things people love to do second they get to Nusay is relaxing. I'm the complete opposite with that. First thing I do, I get to a city and I am just off running, completely exploring my new destination. But don't get me wrong, after the day is done, I'll go into the bed and I'll fall asleep. Grace Landon, I was wondering what the nightlife in San Francisco is like. I am actually not 100% certain on that. I know that people within the city, though, um, I don't picture it to be that crazy. I don't picture much to happen there because one of the things I noticed was that a lot of people were in the city in the daytime. And then once it started to get into the nighttime, things just kind of started to empty pretty quickly. People left the city, and there weren't many people. I didn't see many bars. I didn't see many things for nightlife. So I don't know if it's. I'm sure there's a big section that I just don't know about. But yeah, it's not something that I experienced. And will I be able to experience in the future? Honestly, probably not. Um, I don't know if I'm going to go to San Francisco for the nightlife. There's a chance I may be there again this upcoming summer, which would be really fun. Um, but yeah, yeah. Jessica, did you walk a lot? I did walk a lot. I try to hit when I'm away 30,000 steps a day. That is the goal. 30,000 steps. Well, what will that translate into? Like 12 and a half miles, maybe a little bit more than that. I really think it's the best way to see a city. I don't like to have to go on public transportation. I think if I'm in the city, I want to experience the city, right? So I am going to walk. And I find walking through the different neighborhoods, that's how you really get a feel for everything. So I am walking non-stop. So I did that all the time, non-stop in San Francisco. Did it so much. I know as a former softball player, I would maybe be able to keep up with you. I hope you be able to keep up with me because if you're not, I'm sorry, I'm leaving you behind. I did that so many times this past trip where people wanted to rest, and I was like, "You can go rest. That's fine. See ya." What we did a lot was sometimes I would be walking with my dad, um, and he would get tired. So then I would switch. He would go back to the hotel room and rest, and I would just keep walking there with my mom and my brother. And then they would get tired. Well, my brother didn't get tired. Mason has phenomenal endurance, phenomenal stamina. But my mom would go back, and then my dad would come with us, and we would keep walking. Like my Yosemite hike, Mason did such a great job. He had no issues with endurance in the 5 hour, 6 hour hike at all. He was keeping up. It was great. We have to be, Jessica says, we have to be athletic to run the bases. You sure do. You sure do. Especially baseball and softball. It's such quick bursts of energy, right? You're still all of a sudden you run if it's softball 60 feet, if it's baseball 90 feet. So very, very quick movements. And, it's something, endurance is a skill that I had to learn, believe it or not, actually. I was always, I consider myself very fast, evidenced by, I don't want to brag, but my senior year of high school, I led my conference in stolen bases. I had the most stolen bases of any player in the entire conference of all the teams. But I never had the endurance. Like I would run 90 feet, 180 feet, and I would be absolutely out of breath. But things have changed, and it's really because I've been working out and really been trying to increase my endurance. Um, did you see a lot of sports happening there in San Francisco? I want to get to a college basketball game. In San Francisco, there is Stanford and there's Cal, both two Pac-12 teams. Although Stanford and Cal, they will no longer be in the Pac-12 next year. I'm not going to get into a tangent about college sports realignment, but yeah, I really wanted to see them play. Arizona, one of the top teams in college basketball, was in town. Didn't make it there. The Warriors were also home. Didn't have time to make it to a Warriors game, though. San Jose Sharks weren't in town. 49ers were playing, but it just didn't make sense to fly into San Francisco and get to Levi Stadium within like 3 hours. If I'm there this summer, though, which I think there's like a strong chance that I will be, I am going to get to a San Francisco Giants baseball game. That is a guarantee. Touch Dynasty. Yes, most people live in the Bay Area. Rent is crazy. I can't imagine what it's like for the San Francisco locals there. to have to deal with the cost of living, especially if you're living in the city. Like I know it's always been high, but has it like this is a question for you, Toast Dynasty. Do you notice that it has really increased substantially ever since the massive rise of the tech industry? And I'm not talking about like the rise in like the 90s, like the early 2000s. I'm talking about within like the last 10 years where you have companies like Apple grow to a substantial margin. They have just exploded. Even looking at startups that have become so successful, like Okta, like Indeed. I don't know if these companies are headquartered in San Francisco. I think Okta is. I don't know about Indeed and like other companies like that or like Cisco. But I'm sure they have offices there and have such a big influence. Do you notice that ever since the rise in the massive rise in the tech industry in the last in the last 10 years, that the rent has gone even further and has that driven the homeless crisis even more? That's a question for you, Tuz Dynasty. Wow, love how many comments we're getting. Grace, I feel for you, Jessica, whenever my wife and I travel. Oh no, we already did that. Jessica, oh man, that's so true. Me and Arjun aren't the biggest walkers, but we love to get down and party, especially at night. Well, if you're not the biggest walker, you could definitely still see San Francisco. You can ride the trolley, or sorry, not the trolley, because people got very mad at me in the comment section because very briefly in the very beginning I referred to the cable cars as trolleys. Even though the rest of the video I called them cable cars, I just called them trolley in one specific part. People did not like that I said trolleys. I'm sorry. I guess that'd be like if somebody called the New York subway system the metro, I would look at them and just be like, hey, but it's the subway because it goes underneath the ground, hence sub ground. Um, but where am I going with this? I don't know. Going back to the walkers, yeah, you can definitely go on the cable car. That's a very fun way. Get down party. I'm sure there are great places in San Francisco. I'm just not your best resources for that, unfortunately. Um, Then where else? Why am I losing track of where we are? Jessica. Oh, Grace. Oh my gosh, Jessica. I played softball in my young age as well. We need to connect. Love that people are connecting because of this. This is awesome. Jessica, Grace, that is so true. You and your wife can come to the Yosemite Hotel with me and Arjun. Keep in mind with Yosemite, there are multiple places that you can stay. You can go camping in Curry Village. You could just go camping, or you can stay in two hotels. Yosemite Valley Lodge, which that is a nice hotel, or you can go to the very, very upscale Awani Hotel. Jessica Jessica and Grace, which ones are you thinking about? You have any questions about the Awani Hotel? I know you've already asked some, but if you have more, fire away. Gabrielle Sylvia. OMG, Jessica and Grace. Landon is your invisible string. I wish I knew what that meant. But that's great. I assume that means I am bringing people together. Gabrielle, elaborate on that more for me because I'm not familiar with that terminology. Jessica, where's the difference between the trolley and the cable car? This stuff is clearly not covered in Kansas textbooks. That is unfortunate that is not covered in Kansas textbooks, but let me reassure you it's not covered in New York textbooks or, frankly, probably anywhere. Yeah, I got a very long note from somebody in San Francisco. Cable cars are pulled by the cables that are they're actually pulled by cables, hence their name cable car. Like the car itself, it's not like it's driving. It's like let me try to give a good example. Okay. This water bottle. Yeah, that's a good example. This is the cable car. There's a cable underneath it that is like pulling it like this that it's attached to, while the trolley is just like a regular bus that they call it there. A bus that is also connected to a cable, but it's just a cable for like electrical purposes that they have above, similar to how they have it in Europe. So I guess that's the difference. Belen Vasquez, thank you so much, Landon, for making my day. I am so glad to hear it. Your tips and information is so helpful and in depth while being entertaining at the same time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great night. You have a great night too. It's currently 11:15 where I am. I am so exhausted. I'm literally staying on just for you guys. I would have been out getting ready to sleep a while ago if it wasn't for this great interaction. But Lynn, have a phenomenal night. And make sure you tune into the next one, which is probably not going to be for a little bit, 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. It's going to be after Ireland, where I'm going to go an in-depth breakdown on Ireland. Make sure you tune in for that. But I will gladly go live before then if you guys want me to so badly. You remind me of my old ninth grade teacher. How nostalgic. I'm so glad of that. Gabrielle, Invisible String is, of course, it's a Taylor Swift song lyric. Why am I surprised? Because with the Sylvia family, it would not be a reference without a Taylor Swift reference. For those of you who are watching, I know the Sylvia family, so that's why I personally know them. So that's why I'm saying stuff like that. Oh my God, you guys absolutely love your Taylor Swift so much. All along, there was some invisible string tying me to you. I would have played that song right now on the live stream. Thing is, it's copyrighted and YouTube will strike me down right away, so I can't play it, unfortunately. But that's awesome. That's awesome. Jessica, that is so fascinating. I'll keep that in mind when I travel. If you didn't know, my origin is a bit sensitive and might not enjoy negative comments if we mislabel the car. Don't mislabel the cars. People in San Francisco won't be happy with that. They're called cable cars. Um, Tuz Dynasty. Homelessness has nothing to do with housing crisis. In my opinion, it is caused by some law passed by the previous San Francisco mayor. Do pass many bills basically made this place a drug haven, a drug heaven. Wow. Okay, that is really interesting to hear. Um, and that's something that I saw as well when I was there. Open drug usage when I went into the Tenderloin along with the human feces. Oh my God, that was so bad. That was so bad and so disgusting. Um, but wow, that is really interesting that you think that has more to do with that. Do you think that it's more so kind of, was there any form of like deregulation of drugs? Has there been a lack of prosecution on drug dealers? How has it worked with drug users there in terms of California sentencing, California law? Do you know any specific bills that were passed with that? That's something I definitely need to look into more, especially the drug crisis in San Francisco, because I'm really interested in how we can be able to solve this. Because again, it looks like San Francisco does a really good job with the touristy and businessy areas, but looks like the city has just really forgotten the homeless and the drug crisis, and I think that's what is rising crime, and it is so unfortunate. Gabrielle, I saw Taylor in California. Oh yeah, you and Sydney went to LA for Taylor's show in California. That's awesome. Also, how do you feel about hearing Getaway Car live with Jack Antonoff? That was awesome. The fact that Sydney wanted to hear Getaway Car when she went to the New York show. I went to a Taylor Swift concert, by the way, in New York City. And I heard Getaway Car as her surprise song. Tuz Dynasty, they butchered police funding. Oh yeah, that's something that I didn't even think about when I was in the city. I wonder if they just do they not have the resources to deal with some of this? Because I'm sure mental illness is a big issue as well. And I'm sure that's all connected to the homelessness crisis and the crime issue. So, it makes you think that, if the police don't have the funding for this, they're not going to go to be able to solve these issues. And first off, the police chiefs, which are responsible for pretty much sending their officers to all these different assignments, they have to keep their officers safe as well. So they're not going to send their officers into areas that are more dangerous for the officers to actually go in there. And I'm sure that's a big issue. So, yeah, maybe the police chiefs don't even want to send their officers in there. Also, I wonder if that's why, like, I was talking about the security in Union Square and how every designer store and even places like CVS and the pharmacies, which blew my mind, had armed security guards outside. It wasn't the police, it was private security there. Like, they hired outside organizations for this, which makes me think really now about police funding. It's not something this is something I've never thought about before with this. I think the base salary here is about $50,000. Nobody wants to be a police officer for cheap. That that is crazy that it's that low, especially when you're going go into the job and you're going to have to deal with the crime and deal with all of the drug related issues, have to deal with the mental illness. And first off, putting your life at danger, like I it's terrible. That is genuinely terrible. Eh, I don't see why anybody would want to be a police officer under those circumstances. And to the officers who are out there who are doing a job on the San Francisco streets, first off, that amazing job by them to be able to be willing to be out there to do that. Like, it takes such courage. It takes such bravery, and it really is something. I know New York, the average salary for police, I believe the starting pay is around 60,000. But when you take into account also the San Francisco um, cost of living, how can you live in the city on a $50,000 salary? It's terrible. Um, they butchered the police fund. I think, yeah, nobody wants to be a police officer for cheap. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Tuz Dynasty. Every time there's a police brutality, we take away a little from them. Really is sad. It's a whole complex issue. It's crazy, but I I I mean, I never thought that I would be fully talking about policy, but I think that in cities that have shown, um, have really increased in terms of police presence recently, those are the cities that have had success recently. Um, being a police officer is hard. I think that we need to be able to fund them so they can have the ability. I think if you can combine that with building community relations, you have more mental health services. That if you have kind of like the ability for people to get out of these situations, that includes rehabilitation. If you get into the prison, you combine all of that, um, and giving the police officers resources, then then I think that's the way that we need to go to be able to do this. But that's a whole policy debate. Midpoint housing price here is 800,000. If you're not making 170,000, you can't get a mortgage, or the bank thinks that you can't get a house. That puts it so tough because then that you can't live in the city. Then you gotta go into the outskirts, and I can picture places like Berkeley, like San Jose. Those places, Palo Alto, those places aren't any cheaper. So where can you really go, right? And if well, going back to the $50,000 for a police salary, like, there's nowhere for you to go. Like, I'm sorry, and like I bet there's a massive shortage in police officers as well, and that's so sad to see. You're not going to be able to fix these problems. Again, I don't know about their mental health services. How are the mental health services for there? Um, when I went into the Tenderloin and it was, I believe the organization was Green Alchemy, the fact that you had community organizers having to help people with drug related issues and there wasn't anything from the city, I thought that was very, very sad to see. Um, Jessica, OMG, you went to Taylor. That has been your Kansas dream for 15 years now. She's my favorite concert of my life. Um, Gabrielle Sylvia, do you aspire to be like Confucius, the Confucius scholar? He is my inspiration. Confucius is a very, very interesting scholar from ancient China. I think that some of his teachings are very applicable in everyday life. As a sociology major, we look a lot at Confucius and his thought about society, but he's like more in like the philosophy world. Grace, oh my gosh, look at the time. My wife and I really enjoyed tuning in tonight. Grace, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I think it's time for you to sign off now. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining, Grace. I really, really appreciate it. Like, I really, really do. It was awesome. Enjoy your night. Jessica at Tuz Dynasty. If you mind, Little Kansas, me asking, are you a police officer? How does the police fund affect you personally? I know my Arjun would never be a cop. He's scared. Um, yeah, being a police officer is a scary job, which is why I think everyone needs to have so much respect for them because there are bad cops out there, right? I think that's something that everyone can agree with, but that makes up such a small percentage of them. And it's a shame that the bad cops are, have such a shine negative light on the rest of policing because I, first off, I know many police officers personally and they do their jobs phenomenally. Tuz Dynasty. Oakland has a very high crime rate, and most of mine went to their police department. Somehow it didn't help. You know, relating to Oakland, I don't know if you picked up on it or not. When I was talking about kind of how cost of living outside San Francisco, I avoided Oakland. I said um, I bet the cost of living is very high in Berkeley, very high in places like San Jose, Palo Alto, and I didn't say Oakland because I know Oakland has a very high crime rate as well. I don't know about cost of living there. Is cost of living in Oakland also very high? But I purposely left out Oakland from that because Oakland has had issues really recently as well. It's been kind of going on. I feel bad for the city um, that it seems like people are moving out and trying to get out of Oakland. Again, I could be completely wrong. It would be great if someone could add some insight into this. Um, Money went to the police department in Oakland, but somehow it didn't help. So people think all police are lacking and nobody got money now. How in the world are you going to fix this? How in the world is San Francisco going to fix this? Because first off, you need the police to have the resources, but if you don't even have the officers to be able to do that, you can't fix everything. This seems like a deeply ingrained issue that there are so many different layers to have to uncover from this. New York had very similar issues in like the 90s. Um, I think that New York has done such a phenomenal job in being able to fix those issues and it has really been incredible. New York crime is down dramatically. Dramatically. Sure, there are still pockets of the city that have massive crime, but I will literally be walking around anywhere in Manhattan, except north of Central Park, except in like the Harlem area, but anywhere in Manhattan, um, at 2 a.m. by myself and no fear in the world whatsoever. Um, so and maybe San Francisco can take something from the New York playbook. I know it was from the 90s, so a long time ago, and a lot has changed. But there has to be some solutions. I wonder what solutions are being talked about there. Um, I really wonder. Um, let's see, where was I in the chat? Gabrielle, do I like Kanye West? I will pass on that question. Kanye is a very controversial figure who is very has very many social issues. Whether it's his main thing is anti-Semitism, but as if we're looking like purely as a music artist, yeah, he's a solid artist. Says Dynasty. Oh, I'm not a cop, but I have two friends. One of them working for San Jose Police Department. The other he's with the Fed. He does computer stuff for the government. That's awesome. That's awesome that they're both involved with that. Um, I picked. I wonder, is San Jose, how different is that in terms of police funding? Um, do they also have pretty much lack of funds as well? You were talking about the whole Bay Area, how funds have went to Oakland and how it didn't really help there. Does that include San Jose, that they had a decrease in funds to put it there? Because that's the whole that's in like the South Bay. Um, Let's see. Next question. Jessica, last question. Would you say being a traveler who explored the different Oh, I see Gabrielle's leaving now. Bye, Gabrielle. Please join again. I'm very excited to have you on. Please tune in to all of my videos and live stream in the future. I appreciate you so much, so much. I know it's 11:30 where you are. Have a good night. Tell Sydney, tell Mason I say hello. Um, where was I? Jessica, as my last question, would you say being a traveler who explored the different cultures is better than being a tourist? Oh, what a great question. What a great question. So, my goal in life is to be a traveler, not a tourist. I don't want to go to a place and be like, we'll keep using San Francisco example because that's what this video is about. I don't want to go to a city and be like, oh, I saw Fisherman's Wharf, checking that off my list. I saw Chinatown, checking that off my list. I was at the Golden Gate Bridge, and literally just going to like check it off. That feels that's what a tourist is. You go for the fact of being able to see the place and being able to say you were there. You're not really there to experience the different cultures, to really immerse yourself in the city. That's why I love walking around the city so much versus taking other forms of transportation because you really get the feel for it. Who it's the best. It's the best. I've experienced so many different cultures like this, but unfortunately, most of the cultures it's either been in the U.S. or it's been Western Europe. So it's all been very mainstream. So I'm very excited for 2024, where I will be going to a lot of like the quote unquote non mainstream countries, specifically living in Serbia for 4 months in the fall. Oh my God, I'm so excited for this. Um, to, Jessica. All right, Landon, I'm going to have to clock out for now. I've got an early day tomorrow. I have to collect my chicken eggs and book my travels. Can't thank you enough. Jessica, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining this. I really appreciate it. I really do. Thank you so much. Keep tuning in. I appreciate it. Have a good night. Um, and then I'll probably continue this for about 10 minutes more. And then I gotta call it a night too, because currently 11:33 p.m. where I am. Um, but where was I? Oh, Tuz Dynasty. Only a section of Oakland is super ghetto, but enough to make it appear on the news all the time. Most places in Oakland is actually not that bad. That's interesting because yeah, I do really only hear negatives about Oakland on the news. Um, I'm gonna connect it back to sports. I shouldn't, but one of the big things in sports is the fact that Oakland has lost three sports teams in the last 5 years. And a lot of talk in the sports world even is, oh, teams are leaving Oakland because Oakland has gone to the mud. It has become such a bad city. There are so many issues there because the Oakland A's are moving to Las Vegas. The Oakland Raiders are moving to Las Vegas. And Golden State Warriors were in Oakland and just moved across the bay into San Francisco. But the rest is actually not that bad. That's interesting to hear. Because one of my friends who I go to college with is from Oakland, and he says that he enjoys living in it. So I guess he is probably in one of the areas that isn't like as bad. And I have a friend who absolutely loves the Bay Area. He travels there multiple times a year, and he says high things about Oakland. So again, I picture that he's like in the downtown area, or again, I'm not familiar as much with like what would be like the quote unquote touristy areas of Oakland, um, or like I guess like the like the mainstream areas of Oakland. So I bet that's where he goes. Um, San Jose area is in a bigger county. Oh, it's Santa Clara County. Okay. Oh, that's okay. So because it's a different county, then there's probably whole different um, police chief, whole different police funding system. So it's completely different. There are more police departments and offices. Okay, that makes sense. So really prioritizing what they have there, get more funds. That makes sense. San Francisco, on the other hand, is the only one city uh, that's a county. So it's a city county. Okay, so they kind of like deal with like their own little stuff. Kind of like how it's a little bit like that in New York as well. Like even though Manhattan is considered a borough of the city, it's also its county as well. So I know what you mean by that. Um, so that is really interesting. The whole difference. So looking at San Jose specifically, I wonder how crime rates are there. When I picture San Jose, that's where I think of so much of the Silicon Valley, especially everyone knows Cupertino because of the Apple headquarters. Um, Cupertino, I believe that is so close to San Jose, right? Or it's in Santa Clara County, um, right? Let me look on the map. I wish I was able to enable screen sharing on this live stream. I'm able to, I just don't know how to, but I'm going to get this fixed. Oh, Cupertino is like a San Jose suburb. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I bet that wow, completely different. And anyone that's left on, if you have any final questions, please feel free to comment it down below. I am starting to get exhausted. It's currently 11:36 where I am, so I'm gonna head off in about 45 seconds. And first off, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, really, I appreciate you on this so much. And I had so much fun. I had so much fun. I can't believe I've just been talking for an hour and 37 minutes. Um, it's been awesome. Did I go to Japantown? No, I did not. Wait, people were telling me that I need to go there when I'm there in the summer. That's one of the places I didn't have a chance to make it to. In my video on San Francisco, everything that I talked about or everything that I showed was where I had the chance to go to. So unfortunately, no Japantown, but I will be there. At least I really hope it should happen in July. So there are so many different recommendations people have given me. Japantown is one of them. I also want to get to Golden Gate Park. I want to see, I believe they're called the Sutro Baths. And oh, there's a palace. What's it called? Palace of the Fine Arts. I want to be able to check out all of that as well. So that's going to be so fun, as well as being able to go to a San Francisco Giants game. I bet Japantown is. I bet it's. I wonder if it's. I'm at a loss for words right now because I'm very tired, as maybe people have started to be able to tell within the last few minutes. But I didn't go to the Palace of the Fire. No, I didn't. I saw it. I saw it when driving to the Golden Gate Bridge. So I kind of just saw it from my car. But oh my God, it is looks absolutely stunning. It looks so cool. Um, I believe that there's like a little moat around it or like some sort of like lake, like I don't know, but it's stunning and it looks so Roman, so exquisite. So yeah, definitely, definitely will need to be there. I'm trying to think of what other recommendations. Didn't get to the painted ladies. The does anyone go to the San Francisco Botanical Gardens? Um, I don't even know if that's popular. But the different points. Sausalito, that would also be fun to go to as well. Alcatraz, I didn't get to Alcatraz either. Um, is it worth it to go to? Or is it just kind of like another kind of just like you're there and like whatever. Um, if you're coming back, if you know you're coming back, book the prison trip. Um, okay, okay. See, people, that's what people have been telling me. They're like, you absolutely do have to go. That I guess I will have to. I will add that to my list then. For this June, people say the highest things about it. I know it's such a touristy thing, but people say it's so worth it. Yes, yes, I do remember that. I do remember that. That was so cool. About that with the movie. I know I added it to my list, and it's something that I am going to watch soon. When I have the time, I will definitely check it out. And after watching that, I'm gonna make sure definitely I watch it before I go to Alcatraz because I bet then once I go there, I'm gonna have such a greater appreciation because the fact that it was filmed there, too, like that's so cool. That'll really be awesome. Um, if it's that good of a movie, um, something I'm so excited to see, especially like the whole like crime dynamic. It's something that's something I love to see. I'm very much interested in crime, in whether it's criminal history, or just how different nations deal with crime, looking at it from different perspectives. I think part of it is also looking at how the U.S. used to deal with crime in the time of Alcatraz. Um, so yeah, I'm definitely excited for that. Um, let's see what else. What else is there? Is there anything else to really add on to this? Not that I could think of. 11:41. All right, I'll give it 11:45. Very tired. 11:45. I'm gonna shut this down. All that, but I really am getting so exhausted. I'm trying to think where else in the Bay Area I need to visit. Berkeley, I need to get to. Highway 1. Oh my God, that's something. If I can, I guess I would rent a car for that. Um, people have say incredible things about that. Um, being able to look out at, I bet the shoreline is absolutely stunning. Oh my God, I love all of these suggestions that I'm getting. I am literally, good thing that YouTube saves the chat because immediately after this, I'm literally jotting down every single one of these things and going to make sure that I hit Half Moon Bay. Where is Half Moon Bay? I have the map open on my computer now. Half Moon Bay is, oh, is that where Maverick Beach is where they have that huge surfing tournament every single year? I know there's one place in kind of like just south of San Francisco. It's so cool. They will they have the surfing tournament every year, but they don't know when it's going to be. It really depends when the storm's about to hit, and they'll say, "Hey, we're having this surfing tournament in um 4 days. All surfers come here." Somewhere there. Yes. Oh, that's awesome. That's something that need to check out. I bet looking out at it, absolutely stunning. I would love to really immerse myself in the bay so much more. When I'm there in July or June, assuming I do in fact get there, I would love to be able to make it to San Jose. I know definitely check out Berkeley. One of my good friends is from Berkeley, so that would be nice to be able to walk around there. Being able to visit UC Berkeley, that would be very fun. Um, I unfortunately I won't have time to like go to like like the Santa Cruz, like the Monterey areas. I heard Monterey Bay is also incredible. The Monterey Bay Aquarium, I believe it's called, or yeah, that's supposed to be awesome. Stanford, oh, Stanford as well. That would be great to be able to see that school. I for some reason, like maybe it's just the fact that I'm a college student, to be able to see different universities, I find so awesome, so fascinating. Because every school is different. Every school has its own culture. Every school has its own flavor. I really wanted to get to Stanford this past time when I was there, and yeah, fortunately, just did not make it there. All right, it's 11:45. I hate to do this. I really hate to do this. I'm gonna kill this live stream. Um, but my next live stream, I was thinking that it wouldn't be for like until my Ireland videos are done. I have videos coming out. I have multiple videos coming out from Dublin. I have Galway. I have Hoth. Also within my European trip, Belfast, Northern Ireland, United Kingdom, and Luxembourg. But this was really fun. I had such a great time tonight. I think I'm gonna do another live stream before then. Just talk about literally anything. Um, Thank you so much for joining, everyone. I really appreciate it. Touch Dynasty, thank you so much for how interactive you've been in the chat recently. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It really means a lot. It really means a lot. I really, really mean it. All right. Yes. Have a good night. Enjoy your night as well. And enjoy your weekend as well.